This is how the adventure of this aquarium began. Exactly 1 year ago, I decided to try something new for myself: a self-sustaining aquarium. The information for this type of aquarium is not clear, nor the exact delimitation between Walstad Method, dirted tank, or low-tech aquarium. Chance made this aquarium have a new future. I found this aquarium on a street corner. The fertile substrate used was a combination between worm-casting soil and organic potting compost. I think I made a very good choice choosing this mix. This substrate was not expensive compared to other specialized aquarium substrates. In fact, this whole project is one that involves minimal costs. Because the soil used is organic, I had to remove some things from it that I don't want in the aquarium water, whether they were lumps of earth or pieces of wood. It is very important to use only chlorinated water. How I did it: I used water directly from the tap, but it sat between 24 and 48 hours before use in a bucket. I decided that the substrate should be covered by a layer of gravel with a granulation of 2-3 millimeters. I could have used sand, but my decision was to use gravel. I first put the soil in the aquarium, as I thought it was good. I was a little worried about how it looks because I expected it to look different. I covered the substrate with gravel. The gravel was also rinsed in water. I put the dechlorinated water in the aquarium carefully, so as not to disturb the substrate. I leveled the gravel layer and removed the air bubbles accumulated in the gravel. The next day, I tried to pull out the biofilm collected on the surface of the water and wiped the aquarium's dirt. At this moment, if the water in the aquarium is dirtier than the one in my aquarium, you can do a total water change and wait another day. At this moment, the aquarium is ready for planting. A very important thing is that the aquarium is well planted from the beginning. Because I didn't know which plants would survive in this aquarium, I tried to plant different species. I left a list of which plants I used in the description of this video. Here is how it looks in the end. At the beginning, I set the light to 12 hours a day. It is important that this ecosystem starts working immediately. At this point, I was not thinking about algae. I just thought that all the plants would die. I prefer plants with algae than dead plants. On day 3, while installing a heater and a thermometer, I saw something suspicious. I didn't know what this was. I also saw some community snails in the aquarium. The water in the aquarium had a whitish color and a layer of biofilm formed on the surface of the water. I collected the debris from the surface of the water. I will not use an aquarium filter, only a water pump to ensure water circulation, but I still hadn't decided what kind of pump to buy. This is a predator called planarian worm, attack fish, shrimps, and snails. I have to find a way to remove him from the aquarium. You can already see a difference in the plants. They grew very quickly. The biofilm forms very quickly. And algae have started to grow. I will do a water change. During the water change, I noticed a plant that started to melt. The other plants seemed to be fine. Snails, too, they felt good. The algae grew even more. Unbelievable. But I managed to catch 2 planarian worms with tweezers without breaking them. I added some floating plants in the aquarium and a new plant in place of the plant that died. I am surprised at how fast the plants grow, but also algae. I want to test as many species of plants as possible as they grow in this aquarium. This is a new one. On this day, I made many major changes. I shortened lighting durations from 12 hours to 8 hours a day. I introduced in the aquarium a water pump for water circulation and a water heater. A few days later, I noticed something that seemed to be a planarian worm, which is why I decided to set a trap to catch this predator. I tried several types of bait because I couldn't catch anything. In the end, I caught some worms, but not the worms I expected. The worms I caught are harmless to fish, shrimp, and snails, but they are useful to the ecosystem, and the fact that I have them in the aquarium is a good thing. Also, I was surprised to find a new species of snail that I didn't know I had in the aquarium. Because planarian worm is no joke, I decided to try again with another kind of bait, chicken meat. While in the aquarium, I was discovering new species of living things. I didn't catch or see planarian worms in the aquarium, so it was time to introduce shrimp. They are very beautiful. Along with the shrimps, I also received some small spiral snails. I put them in the aquarium. Using a magnifying lens on the phone I shoot with, I discovered a new world. The aquarium is full of life. The lack of any kind of chemicals in this aquarium makes the ecosystem regulate itself. I had no idea how many things live in this aquarium. And what is important is the fact that everything you see here is beneficial to the aquarium. Nothing harms it. The plants grew very big, and now was the moment when I trimmed them for the first time. The same day was the day when I introduced the fish into the aquarium. 20 fish. Many fish. Very many for an aquarium without a filter. These fish live better in larger groups, so I made a compromise. 12 Galaxy Rasbora, also known as Celestial Pearl Danio, and 8 Dwarf Cory. In time, the fish regained their colors, have completely adapted to their new home. I chose to buy fish with an age of 3-4 months. I didn't want older fish. The shrimps also adapted very well. I also added 2 Nerite snails. The aquarium is full of life. I have never added carbon dioxide, fertilizers, or any kind of chemicals to this aquarium. I think that if I add chemicals to this aquarium, I will kill all the beneficial bacteria of this ecosystem, and I will destroy the whole balance. Pearling plants. I didn't think I would see something like this in this aquarium. Now that I look back, I can't believe how good the aquarium looks, and I wouldn't have known what a big impact a few small changes can have on this aquarium. I thought that shrimps like moss. So now, I also have moss in the aquarium. And because calcium is important for shrimps and snails, once every 2-3 months, I give them calcium, like this. But a small piece of calcium fell on the gravel, revealed an unexpected surprise. At that moment, I didn't give it importance, and I didn't know anything about what it meant. From the beginning, I tested the water parameters, but I hadn't tested anything else. And I didn't even know what to test, because everything seemed fine in the aquarium. I did weekly water changes. Classic, around 20% of the amount of water in the aquarium. Time has passed, and the image of the aquarium is constantly changing. Luckily for me, the snails I got on the plants were not assassin snails. I tried another arrangement for moss, but the bubbles coming out of the substrate could be seen more and more often. Besides the gas accumulated in the substrate, another enemy lurks among the plants. The algae covered more and more species of plants. It was more and more often seen in the aquarium. But because, to my surprise, the plants were growing, I decided to ignore the algae. All I was wondering was, how long will it be like this? I have seen that it is possible. It is possible to have a beautifully planted aquarium without using the addition of carbon dioxide, any kind of fertilizers, or any kind of chemicals. And I don't have a filter in the aquarium, only a water pump. Because some plants had holes in their leaves, but also because I was going on vacation, I arranged the aquarium a little more. Yes, some of the plants were already showing signs that something was wrong. Tonight I'm going on vacation by plane, and I haven't packed my luggage yet. Instead, I'm taking care of the last details of this aquarium, because I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to do. I decided to do another small water change. I bought an automatic feeder, but not knowing how to use it, I tested it first. Everything seems to be fine, so I installed the automatic feeder and, pressed for time, I started packing. Most people who watch my videos give up after 2 minutes, but if you're still here, that means a lot for me and for the work I put into making this video. So please give me a like now and a subscribe, because this is all I get after hundreds of hours of work. Thank you. I just came back, and for the first time I looked to see if everything is okay with the aquarium. If my fish or shrimp died. Everything seemed fine. I noticed that a large amount of water evaporated from the aquarium. I think the automatic feeder did the job very well. I didn't have enough time to test it, but this test was the best test. I topped up with water directly from the tap. I cleaned the water pump because it was clogged and stopped working. I noticed that a lot of algae had formed. While cleaning the aquarium, I noticed two big changes. The first change is about algae. There are more and more of them. The second one is about snails, and they are more and more. Is there a connection between algae and snails? Something had started to change in the aquarium. I could see it. I didn't know the cause, so I started doing weekly water tests. The results of the tests did not help me much because they were as usual. I changed the lighting duration again because I had noticed a change in the growth of the plants. They grew much slower. At this moment, I realized that I started to lose the battle with the algae. Another thing to mention is the cloudy water in the aquarium. From the beginning of the aquarium, periodically the water in the aquarium acquires a milky cloudy color without finding the reason. The aquarium was in full change. Every day I could observe new things. Algae, almost all plants, more snails, more fish. The aquarium is already overpopulated. I decided to adjust the light again. This time, I reduced both the intensity and the duration of the lighting. In a shaded area of the aquarium, I noticed several dead snails. After 100 days, this aquarium had already gone through many transformations, and many of my observations had taken shape. I was still analyzing the nature of this kind of substrate, potting soil, but I was also thinking about its evolution in the future. I accidentally discovered that the aquarium is better when I am late with the water changes, so I decided to reduce the water changes, then to stop doing water changes. I had started the fight with the algae. I've been trying to find what methods I can apply to this aquarium to get rid of algae. I didn't want to use chemicals, so I found a method called Blackout. Very good for this aquarium. Blackout means that the aquarium does not receive light for several days. Not at all, even covered with a blanket or a piece of cardboard to prevent any light from reaching the aquarium. This method was effective in the fight against algae, but due to the lack of light, the plants also suffered. It seemed to me that I took too many measures at once: less light, blackout, many plants with algae removed from the aquarium, so I decided to give the aquarium time to recover. That doesn't mean I didn't do anything. For a long time I was thinking of making another kind of visual change on the aquarium. I changed the background film of the aquarium. The old one was more personalized, but I like the new one much more. Red cherry shrimp seemed to be fine. Were eating animated the aquarium all day, but with all that, they are not breeding yet. I did not expect the aquarium to have this evolution. As I said at the beginning, it was more of an experiment, and I did not expect the plants to last so long without carbon dioxide, liquid fertilizers, root tabs, or any kind of chemicals in the aquarium. I'm starting to think that there is a certain balance in the aquarium, because when I make some changes, even small changes like cutting some plants, other changes are immediately seen. That's why I can say that this aquarium is an ecosystem. The ecosystem does its best to survive. Everything in this ecosystem regulates itself for survival. But I still intervene in this ecosystem for reasons of aesthetics, or because it is not like in aquariums that use carbon dioxide. I try to think of this aquarium as if I don't know anything about aquariums, but it's very difficult for me. It is much more difficult to correct something you have known for so long than to learn from scratch. I thought of giving the shrimps a spinach leaf to eat. It was interesting to see how quickly I feel it in the aquarium. Reach the spinach leaf and start the feast. It was visible that the red plants are fewer and fewer. However, overall, the density of plants made the aquarium beautiful. I am constantly looking for the ideal settings for the light, because I always have the impression that the initial settings were the best. Not having the experience of such an aquarium, I consider the snails in the aquarium that breed quickly to be an invasive species. Now I consider them as an indicator for the state of the aquarium. And because I have them in the aquarium all the time, I notice certain things about snails that I wouldn't have known otherwise. I thought to see better what these bubbles are in the substrate of the aquarium. It is obvious that there is an accumulation of gas in the substrate of the aquarium. But I don't know what gases they are. And even if I knew what the gases are, I wouldn't know what to do next. What is certain is that it is about several gases. And here again, the same problem. I don't know what percentage of each gas is. If I am to go by what people say, I can say that this gas is hydrogen sulfide. But this gas is known to form in aquariums with fertilization. But this aquarium does not have such a thing. And the room affects like rotten egg smells, decreased water oxygen levels, and increased ammonia and nitrite concentrations. Anaerobic gases can harm or even kill fish and other aquatic organisms. Do not coincide with what is in this aquarium. So I can say that the gases that form in the substrate of this aquarium are similar to the gases that you find in nature. If you have another opinion, leave me a comment with what you think. But tell me why this aquarium behaves like an ecosystem. The plants, fish, shrimps, snails are very healthy. My theory is just a theory. I am open to new ideas, especially since I practically see what is happening. Theoretically, I do not have the necessary knowledge to confirm this with certainty. Later, I discovered that the phosphate in the aquarium is above the normal limit. Looking for the reason, I discovered that the tap water is the reason. I started to supplement the evaporated water from the aquarium with water bought from the supermarket. But then I realized that I also drink tap water, and the phosphate in the tap water is not good for my health. This day is a very important day. I made several changes, but one of the changes is major. I raised the LED lamp because the light did not reach everywhere in the aquarium. But the biggest change is the fact that I decided to remove the water pump from the aquarium. I will not have water movement in the aquarium. I wanted to see how this affects the ecosystem. I also want to keep the aquarium as low as possible. Low-tech aquarium. Now I only use one lighting source and a heater in the cold season. In the following days, I started to follow the aquarium carefully because I didn't know the impact of not having water circulation in the aquarium. First of all, I had a heater in the aquarium. Secondly, I didn't know what role the water movement played in the aquarium. However, I noticed that a layer of biofilm formed on the surface of the water. Also, the water acquired a whitish color. The shrimp were busy cleaning the aquarium. I didn't know they were so fast. A new day, a new observation. If I had not removed the water pump from the aquarium, I would not have known this. I noticed that the heater, when it is working, creates currents of water. It is not a strong movement of the water, but there is movement there. Because I know that I have accumulations of different gases in the substrate, I often smell water. I have the impression that it is still water and has a bad smell. In reality, I have never felt a bad smell from the aquarium. I also tested the water to see if there are changes. I wanted 2 snails in the aquarium, of the same species. Instead, now there are around 50, 100 snails from 6 species. I have never tried to remove these snails from the aquarium. They play a very important role, consuming all kinds of waste from the aquarium. They are also an indicator of the quality of the water. When there are many snails, I reduce the amount of food I give to the fish. Sometimes, for unknown reasons, the number of snails decreases. But the number of shrimps was constant. I would have liked the number of shrimps to increase because the aquarium allowed this. I analyzed what is essential for shrimp to breed, and I came to the conclusion red cherry shrimp must be well fed and must not be stressed with changes all the time through the aquarium. Respecting these 2 things, I noticed that it works really quickly. A week later, while I was feeding the shrimp with broccoli, I noticed that the fish were also eating broccoli. I was surprised to see this. Time has passed, and we have reached the 10th month since the start of this project. You can see the differences between how they looked a few months ago and how the red plants in this aquarium look now. Searching, I found many recommendations about which plants grow in an aquarium without carbon dioxide. But they were all just opinions. Ideas. I found no evidence of an aquarium with red plants older than a year. So I decided to try again with the red plants, but applying some changes that I learned. In the following weeks, I will try again with the red plants, also without carbon dioxide, without fertilizers, without root tabs, without filters, without water changes. I have come too far with this aquarium not to try again. A new theory of mine. Another theory made me make the aquarium look like this. There was a time when plants stopped growing. Even the algae stopped growing. My theory says that the amount of nutrients in the aquarium is limited. It is not enough for many plants. The nutrients need time to recover in the aquarium, following biochemical reactions. I risked a lot with this experiment, but it showed that I was right. The plants started to grow more beautifully, and the color of the few red plants I still have in the aquarium has intensified. The fight against algae without using chemicals made me find a snail, which I hadn't heard of until recently, which I think is better than the classic Nerite snail. It is faster, it has a bigger appetite, it also consumes the remains of the aquarium substrate. Look how well the plants recovered after the massive cutting as part of the experiment. But let's not forget that this is not a conventional aquarium. Currently, the aquarium is only equipped with a light source. I haven't been doing any water changes for half a year, and the result is a good one, in my opinion. This aquarium has turned 1 year old. But this aquarium arouses my curiosity and helps me to discover another side of aquaristics. As a future plan, I don't want to reveal too much. I will continue with other experiments, but I will also pay attention to the potting soil in the substrate because there are signs that something is changing there. Don't forget to subscribe because on this YouTube channel you can find more detailed information that you don't know yet.